Hey folks, welcome back to Girl Talk. We are filming here at the Montage in McFarland, much closer than I thought actually. It's just right down the road. And we're going to chat with those folks a little bit later. But sugar and sweet lovers, listen up because Dr. Bailey has some important information for those of us out there who are loving sweets and maybe it's a little bit too much. So we're going to chat with her, Dr. Bailey from All About Chiropractic. So glad to have you back, our resident expert. How are you?
I love being here. Thanks for having me. I'm doing well.
Good. I don't know if you can see under the table here, but Dr. Bailey
This is a bump. It's not.
It's
not extra storage for the winter.
Looking great at 32 weeks. So definitely listen to what she has to say. But let's get into this topic about sugar. So what does sugar do to the body?
The biggest thing that sugar does when it enters the body is it's actually meant to be an energy resource for us. But in recent years, because of the overconsumption of sugar, it's actually been stimulating a lot more of our dopamine hormone, our pleasure chemical in our body, which is starting to create even more of an overconsumption and even an addiction to sugar.
I've heard of that, like having an actual sugar addiction. The more you eat, the more you want.
Especially with the high fructose corn syrup, right? I know that one's a big
Which is in like everything these days, it seems.
And high fructose corn syrup actually is shuttled into fat storage faster than any type of sugar there is out there. So the more of that you're ingesting in your diet, you're actually more likely to store most of it as fat.
So you really want to watch out for that one.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Wow, so this word sugar addiction isn't just a buzzword, it can be a literal thing.
Absolutely.
So between the high fructose corn syrup and just added sugar, how much do you think we're consuming on average every day?
Yeah, that's a great question. The average American is actually consuming about 1/3 of a pound of sugar extra a day.
I didn't envision that.
It equates to about 22 teaspoons of sugar, and that's for the average American adult. Now, the average American child is consuming about 32 teaspoons of sugar, so it can equate up to about 156 extra pounds a year.
Wow, that's kind of astonishing because you're thinking about that much quantity in terms of like a little person. That's a lot of sugar to take in.
Absolutely, and now you can kind of see why childhood obesity and things like that are definitely on the rise.
So I think part of the reason that this might be so shocking to us here and maybe viewers at home is we think we're eating healthy. So where might some of this hidden sugar be in our diets?
That's a great question. I mean, 1/3 of that extra sugar comes from soft drinks, which I think that's pretty common sense. A lot of us know that soda's bad, has a lot of extra sugar in it. But it's also coming, 2/3 of it is actually coming from hidden sources, like things like pasta sauce, ketchup, lunch meat even has additives of sugar in it, and same with like pastas, breads, yogurt. So a lot of it's coming from these little places that we might feel like are healthy options, but are actually loaded with sugar to increase the taste and shelf life.
Yeah, I mean, you wouldn't think lunch meat. I know a lot of people that do like low carb diets that lunch meat's on the menu.
Yeah, it's a staple.
You don't realize you're actually taking in a lot of sugar. That's really interesting. So you're talking about, in terms of sugar that is sort of average for adults and kids these days, as far as what we are taking in, how much should we be taking in?
Excellent question. For women, on average, we should only be having about 6 teaspoons a day. So we're like quadrupling the amount of sugar we should be having.
You said 22, right? We should be doing 6.
If you're like me making coffee a meal, that's like you got it done in your coffee in the morning.
Yeah, absolutely. Men, it's about 9 teaspoons, and then from children, it can be anywhere between 3 and 8. So what I usually tell my patients is that if you notice that the sugar content of something you're eating is over about 10 to 12 grams of sugar, that should be considered a dessert. So, and I think it kind of gives you a new outlook on how to analyze food.
Yeah, that sandwich you're eating might be dessert.
As much sugar as your dessert does.
Or your yogurt.
Hard to believe.
I think when things went fat-free, they added more sugar to make them palatable and interesting.
And alcohol too, thinking about alcohol as far as it being a dessert, I kind of switch gears, but a lot of people forget when they're drinking that's a lot of sugar and
it is.
That's calories.
Well, sometimes it's for me those drinks, like maybe a White Russian or something, it has as much calories as a big slice of chocolate cake or milk,
Gosh, we're almost out of time. Is there a bottom line of what the dangers are?
Yeah, as we increase our sugar intake, obviously you guys have noticed that obesity is on the rise, so it's highly affecting our fat storage content. It can also type 2 diabetes, children and adults. hyperactivity, which makes sense with sugar, but a lot of people also don't realize that it can also cause chronic fatigue because of the crashing effects that we get after. And then the more fat we are, the more tired we get.
Yeah, you got it. Well, thanks so much, Dr. Bailey, for sharing that
You're
with
welcome.
us. Dr. Bailey is from All About Chiropractic, and she is a wealth of knowledge. This is just a small portion of things she'll talk to you about over on Mineral Point Road, so go see her. And make sure you stick around because after the break, we're chatting with the folks at the Montage about their expanding women's collection. We'll be right back.
Awesome.